Welcome to this explainer. Let's be real for a second. English grammar is notorious for those incredibly frustrating exceptions that seem to just, break every rule you've ever learned. But if you've ever found yourself second-guessing mid-sentence, wondering, wait, should I say I think or I am thinking, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to clear that up once and for all.
Okay, so let's jump right in by looking at a totally universally recognized mistake. Why exactly does a sentence like, I am understanding this, sound so undeniably awkward? I mean, you might hear a language learner say it, and we all know exactly what they mean, but our brains instantly hit a speed bump. It just clunks. It doesn't flow naturally at all. But why is that? After all, you are actively doing the understanding right now, aren't you?
Well, the short answer is that certain words in English just absolutely refuse to be put into that ongoing, continuous action format. We actually call these rebellious words stative verbs. They are stubbornly rooted in an unchanging reality. They literally don't care if an action is happening right this very second. They demand to be treated entirely differently from your regular action verbs because they describe a fundamental state of being rather than an activity you can physically watch happen.
To really wrap our heads around why this happens, we have to look at the baseline rule for these tenses. Think of the present simple as a permanent photograph and the present continuous as a temporary video. The present simple captures a fixed reality. Facts, routines, unchanging truths. I work in a bank is a stable fact about your life, locked in a frame. On the flip side, the present continuous captures motion. It's an action currently in progress, unfolding right now, but crucially, it has a definite endpoint. I'm working on a project. It's happening now, but eventually, the video stops. Take a universal truth, for example, like water boiling at 100 degrees Celsius. That is a scientific fact, right? It's a permanent photograph of how the universe works. But imagine you're standing in your kitchen, and the pot on the stove is suddenly bubbling over. You'd yell, the water is boiling, turn off the stove. You are describing the actual bubbling, steaming process happening right now in front of your eyes. It requires immediate attention because it's a temporary video playing out in real time. And this brings us right to our main complication, the rebel words known as stative verbs. These don't describe physical, observable actions at all. Unlike dynamic action verbs like boil, run, or jump, stative verbs describe states of being. They represent our invisible internal world. They map out mental states, basic conditions, profound feelings, or our human senses. At their core, these words are entirely about how things are in reality, not what things do. Basically, if you can't actively sit back and watch a movie of someone physically doing it, the verb falls into one of these four categories and typically rejects the video mode. We have mental states, like know, believe, and remember. We have emotions, which cover how we feel deeply, love, hate, want. You can't exactly start and stop loving something like you start and stop running. Then, senses, involving smell, taste, hear, and see. And finally, possession, things like own, belong, and possess. You just can't film someone owning a car. It's an invisible state of reality. Because knowing is a mental state and not an observable action, overgeneralizing the continuous tense here is one of the absolute biggest mistakes language learners make. You might really want to emphasize that you know something right this second, leading to the incorrect sentence, I am knowing the answer. But because knowledge is a state, it's locked in as a photograph. So the correct, natural way to express this unchanging state is simply, I know the answer. So the crucial takeaway here is that stative verbs can't be continuous. Simple enough, right? But wait, if they absolutely refuse to be continuous, we have a major plot twist to address. What about words like think? I know for a fact you've heard people say I am thinking in everyday conversation. Does that just break the rule we literally just learned? Take a moment to ponder that. It feels completely contradictory. Let's figure this out. Well, think is what we call a shape-shifting verb. It completely transforms depending on the context. Sometimes it acts as a permanent opinion, and other times as an active, temporary mental process. When you say, I think it's a good idea, you are firmly stating your opinion. It's a mental state, a solid photograph. But when you say, I'm thinking about your proposal, you're describing the active, churning gears, turning in your brain. You are actively weighing the options. That is a dynamic process, a temporary video playing right there in your head. The word have pulls the exact same magical trick, shifting from a permanent state of possession to a temporary, dynamic experience. Think about the sentence, I have two sisters. That's stative possession. It's a permanent fact about your family structure. You would never say, I am having two sisters. But flip the context to a party, I'm having a great time. Here, have doesn't mean owning something in a physical box. It means experiencing or participating in. It becomes a vibrant, dynamic, temporary action. Even our human senses are shapeshifters. Imagine walking into a cafe. You take a sip and declare, "This coffee tastes delicious." The coffee itself isn't doing an action. That's just its state, its inherent flavor profile locked in a photograph. But imagine watching a kitchen line. The chef is tasting the soup. The chef is performing a very physical, temporary action to check the seasoning with a spoon. The context completely dictates whether the verb is a static photograph or a moving video.
So keeping those shape-shifting exceptions in mind, let's look at the top 3 traps learners fall into when trying to navigate between permanent states and temporary actions. Trap number 1, she is having a car. Remember, possession is a state, so it should be the photograph. She has a car. Trap 2, water is boiling at 100 degrees when describing a general scientific fact. Facts are permanent photographs, so use water boils. And trap 3, I work on a project this month. The phrase this month is a huge neon sign flashing temporary, so you absolutely have to hit play on the video mode and say, I'm working on a project this month.
Getting these 2 modes mixed up during a casual conversation can lead to massive confusion. One asks about your lifelong career, and the other asks about your exact moment right now. If someone asks, what do? They want to know your profession, the overarching photograph of your life. If you answer, I am watching TV, you're going to get some weird looks, or they'll just assume you're a professional Netflix critic. Conversely, what are you doing demands the video, what is physically happening at this very second. To guarantee you never make these mistakes again, just run your sentences through this quick 3-step mental cheat code before you speak. Step 1, can I actively watch this action happening? If no, like with belong or understand, use the simple tense. Step 2, is there a temporary time limit? Look for clues like this week or currently. If yes, hit play on the continuous tense. Step 3, look for marker words. Words like usually, always, or never point straight to the simple tense photograph. Right now and at the moment, point to the continuous video.
All right, let's test your new skills with a quick interactive quiz. Which of these options is the standard way to talk about an appointment tomorrow? A, I am seeing my doctor tomorrow. Or B, I see my doctor tomorrow. Take a second, think about our shape-shifting verbs and what the word see actually means when a doctor is involved. Does it mean using your eyeballs, or does it mean something else entirely? Lock in your answer.
If you guessed A, you absolutely nailed it. In this context, the shape-shifting verb see doesn't just mean perceiving with your eyes. It actually means the physical, scheduled process of meeting someone. When see means to visually perceive or to understand, it stays stative. But when you use it to describe a solid, personal, future plan to meet a person, it becomes a highly dynamic event, and we confidently use the present continuous.
Let's try one more quiz, this time based on expressing annoyance about someone's repeated behavior. Take a look at this sentence. He always is complaining about his job. Now, we know the word always usually goes hand in hand with the present simple photograph, but something is a bit tricky here with the structure. Does this sentence look grammatically right to you? Take a brief moment to evaluate it.
Actually, it's incorrect. We have to put the word always right between the helper verb is and the main verb, making it he is always complaining about his job. But notice how we are deliberately using the continuous video tense here. Even though always normally triggers the simple tense, combining it with the continuous form is a fantastic native level trick. We essentially use a grammar error, a temporary video for a permanent habit, to heavily highlight how incredibly annoying and frustrating that repeated action is.
And that perfectly sums up our shapeshifters, verbs like be, have, see, taste, and think. These chameleon words constantly force us to pause, look at the context, and choose between the permanent photograph and the temporary video. They require you to ask yourself one core question before you speak. What exactly am I trying to say? Am I describing an inherent quality or state, or am I describing an active temporary process unfolding in real time? I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on. If emotions are strict stative verbs that should never be put into a temporary video, why does literally everyone know the famous fast food slogan, I'm loving it? Is colloquial slang breaking the rules, or is the English language simply evolving before our eyes? Language is a living thing, and sometimes adding that continuous ing gives a stative verb a punch of immediate, passionate emphasis that strict grammar rules just can't contain. Think about that next time you order a burger. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep observing those verbs.